I feel sorry to the fans because the fight is boring. The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us.
Certain Terence Crawford in his brain is saying to himself, I can beat this dude. You know what I'm saying? If he actually goes through with it, he'll be 38 years of age next Sunday.
Right now in the sport, that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf.
Manny Pacquiao mocks Floyd Mayweather for challenging Terence Crawford, saying he feels bad for the fans because this is not the fight boxing really needs. Pacquiao warns that it will be boring and just an exhibition. He also points out that Floyd has been retired for years and hasn't fought seriously in a long time, which makes the whole event pointless.
The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us. I mean, as a fighter, if I'm a fan, of course I want to see a good fight, like changing fight, not a fashion show.
Manny Pacquiao has been very critical of Floyd Mayweather. He said he feels sorry for the retired fighter because his focus seems to be entirely on making money. Manny believes Mayweather's return to the ring is about cash, not about legacy or the sport itself. He described a potential fight with Terence Crawford as driven purely by greed rather than real competition. According to Manny, this approach takes the heart out of boxing, turning it into a show where fighters act more like models on a runway than athletes in the ring.
In this conversation, you say, I don't like boastful people. How was it like fighting Mayweather then? Did he get on your nerves? Because I feel like he's a little bit more boastful than the people you might be wanting to hang out with.
Yeah, he's boastful. I think his God is the material things, money, everything like that. I'm pretty with him because I want to share the word of God in him if he believe God.
Yeah, I've heard he's a generous man. I think he's done good things. I think, he kind of reminds me of like a lot of people are like this, by the way, including myself. I'm not just saying him. I'm including myself. The man who goes up to Jesus and says, what should I do to get into heaven? He says, sell all your belongings. And he walked away crying because he couldn't sell his belongings.
Exactly.
The news that Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson will face each other in 2026 shocked the boxing world. Experts quickly noted that this fight is not about two athletes at their peak, but an entertainment event aimed at making money. The match is being promoted as a warm-up for Mayweather, who might fight Terence Crawford later that year. Analysts say both fights are focused on profit, with huge pay-per-view sales expected. Tyson remains a legend and Mayweather still has a massive global following, so the matchup is sure to grab worldwide attention even if it lacks true sporting importance.
Jake and Tyson and some people like the likes of Carl Froch viewed that as an endorsement. Like, look, man, I'm just working. It's a big opportunity to be on Netflix. I didn't put the fight together. I'm not paying these guys. So, let's chill out. But all right, I'm not going to poo-poo this. I just don't know what CSI is. And the way it was presented made me think that there was like a secondary press release to come, that they'll be involved in like some sort of like virtual boxing thing. Like, it just didn't seem real. You know why it didn't seem real? I'll tell you why. There's no date attached to it. There's no venue attached to it. Forget rules, exhibition, not exhibition, weight. I mean, here's a guy who fought a heavyweight forget all that. These things can get figured out, the fine details. The fact that it was announced, why announce something with no date or location attached to it? What's the point? Unless you're just trying to get people excited and trying to get them, trying to get some investors or something like that.
But maybe also testing the waters. If the response was overwhelmingly positive, maybe you go, okay, we move forward. If the response is muted or negative, maybe you go, okay, we're not going to actually do this. You lob it out there as a way to poll the public, and then make an adjustment.
You don't think it happens?
I do not think it happens. I just don't think there will be enough interest. I know they have huge name value. There's zero after the last performance by Mike Tyson against Jake Paul.
Terence Crawford has always expressed respect for Manny Pacquiao. He highlighted that Manny's career is one of a kind in boxing history. The Filipino star won titles in multiple weight classes, often facing larger opponents and beating the odds. Crawford noted that Manny's achievements are not just historic but almost impossible to replicate, as he reached greatness in a unique era by taking on challenges few others would even consider.
fighter. Like, he's accomplished what no other fighter is ever going to accomplish.
The possibility of Terence Crawford fighting David Benavidez has sparked a lot of interest among fans. Benavidez is seen as one of the toughest fighters in boxing today. With his size, youth, and aggressive style, many believe he could challenge Crawford like no one else has. However, nothing has been officially confirmed, so the matchup remains speculation. The conversation shows how much fans crave real, high-stakes fights, rather than exhibitions or celebrity-driven events.
Shock the world, not me, but shock the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, but he took on and defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majimov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7", with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Trainer Greg Hackett praised Terence Crawford's impressive win over Canelo Alvarez. He described Canelo as boxing's top force, a fighter who had ruled the sport for years with skill and power. Hackett said Crawford not only faced him but defeated him decisively, signaling a shift at the very top of boxing. Taking down a previously untouchable opponent positions Crawford as the new force to beat, the fighter every contender must watch out for. Hackett also raised a key question about what comes next. If Crawford can handle the toughest of his generation, who remains that can truly challenge him? Fans are now debating what hurdles lie ahead and whether Crawford will keep fighting long enough to face them or retire at the height of his career.
Gotta remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, you know, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit gotta make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend. But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know
line of suits. Your line of suits get your money. Yeah, go away and get the easy money. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up, boy?
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just whatever, doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times the fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then just fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore, when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he like, man, this ain't even that. But your coach like, listen, you could get fucked up. I'm telling you, you don't want to listen to.
Analysts agree that Terence Crawford's decisive win over Canelo Alvarez was a career-defining moment that cemented his place in boxing history. Before this fight, fans already respected Crawford for his clear victory over Errol Spence, where he showed complete control and quieted critics who questioned his competition. Beating Canelo, however, had even greater weight. Canelo was long seen as one of the sport's top pound-for-pound fighters, a champion across multiple divisions who often faced bigger, stronger opponents. Crawford not only met that challenge but dominated Canelo in a way few expected. This victory proved that Crawford's skills go beyond a single weight class or opponent type, highlighting his adaptability, technical mastery, and mental toughness at the highest level. Today, he is widely recognized as one of the rare fighters who has truly overcome every challenge before him.
Enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like, they're squabbing, like there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. Well, James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that. He wasn't up 8-0, to be fair to Floyd. But Floyd was when he fought Canelo, so he could do that. But Bud instead steps on the gas. Bud is a finisher. You know, he closes really strong. He closes really strong in every exchange. That's one of his gifts. He's the best counterpuncher of his era, one of the greatest counterpunchers that lived. But the great fighters, James would tell us about this. James and Mike McCallum put on fights that exemplify what I'm talking about: initiating and punctuating, being first, being last. That's one of the things that makes Crawford who he is. So no, I think it was a good enough fight that it certainly didn't hurt boxing.
Yeah, I think Sport of Boxing delivered last night. I mean, Crawford didn't deliver. Manny.
The discussion about a potential matchup between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather has become one of modern boxing's most fascinating debates. Many analysts argue that Mayweather's defensive skill, perfect timing, and unmatched ring intelligence would have given him the edge if both had met in their primes. He excelled at neutralizing opponents, controlling the fight's pace, and forcing top challengers into difficult positions, with his undefeated record often cited as proof. On the other hand, many believe Crawford's versatility, punching power, and calm under pressure could have made him Mayweather's toughest challenge. Crawford's seamless stance switching and intelligent bursts of pressure set him apart from most opponents Floyd faced, with fans suggesting his unpredictability might have forced Mayweather into risky exchanges. In the end, the comparison shows two different styles of greatness. Mayweather's legacy is built on precision, control, and calculated dominance, while Crawford thrives on adaptability, aggression, and high-level adjustments. The debate may never be resolved, but it highlights the deep respect both champions command across generations.
Fantasy matchup between Prime Mayweather and Prime Crawford, I've tended to lean slightly towards Mayweather. But after that performance there against Canelo, not just the fact he won, the manner in which he won, I've changed my mind. I would now lean towards Prime Crawford over Mayweather. And the reason I say this is because of the expert way in which Terence Crawford mixed offensive in the pocket boxing with defensive on the move boxing. Not running, save for maybe a round or two. No, just moving nicely. Because if there's one area of Floyd Mayweather's game that was underdeveloped, it's his front foot game. Whenever Mayweather was forced to walk an opponent down, what he did was actually very basic. He would hold his hands up and he would walk forward throwing straight right hands. Okay, they were accurate straight right hands. They were well-timed straight right hands. But there wasn't a whole heap of head movement. There wasn't a whole heap of creative or dynamic footwork, coming forward, walking somebody down. No, it was very, very basic stuff. And I don't think an approach that basic would have worked against, let's say, a Tommy Hearns, who was 6'1", 6'2", 78-inch reach, massive puncher, good hand speed. So I always thought that a prime Tommy Hearns would beat prime Mayweather, because I can't see Mayweather doing what Ray Leonard did, grabbing the bull by the horns and taking it to Tommy Hearns. Can't see him doing that, and if he did try and do it, he's gonna get clipped. Tommy Hearns hit so hard, that guard from Mayweather wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. And I never saw Mayweather on the front foot moving his head a lot. When he's in the middle of the ring or on the back foot, when he's being defensive, yeah, that's when he moves his head. The famous Philly shell defense, the shoulder roll and all that. But coming forward, no, it's a lot more basic. Go watch Mayweather's old fights, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whenever he's forced to come forward, it's basic stuff. And so, after watching Crawford's performance against Canelo, I got to thinking, you know what? Maybe Crawford employs similar tactics if he fights a prime Mayweather.
With so many achievements under his belt, Crawford now faces an important decision. Fans are eager to see him take on new challenges, whether it's Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, or other top fighters. At the same time, there's a real chance he could retire instead of risking defeat. At 37, he has little left to prove and could leave the sport while still at his peak. This uncertainty worries fans, who fear boxing might lose one of its few active stars just when the sport needs big, exciting fights the most.
The Sheik said, deliver the job to Terence Crawford. The fight is big, showbiz.
And Saturday, deliver the job.
Y'all missed the most important part. It's when he said, don't retire.
No retirement.
This is what you guys are missing. Turkey al-Sheikh was trying to say, return the favor.
You must return it, yeah.
Bud interrupted him by saying the job ain't done, which prompted Turkey al-Sheikh to say, yeah, deliver the job. But that's not what he was on. He was on the first part, return the favor. But Turkey, in a second thought, he goes back to Bud and he says, and don't retire.
No retirement.
That's what Turkey meant when he was trying to say, return the favor. I did this for you, you got this big fight, but don't retire. Return the favor.
UFC legend Daniel Cormier has joined the growing list of voices praising Terence Crawford while responding to Ilia Tapira's surprising call-out. Cormier, known for his deep knowledge of combat sports, acknowledged that Tapira is rising quickly in mixed martial arts and has the momentum of a future star. Still, despite the attention on the young fighter, Cormier said he would back Crawford without hesitation. He pointed out that Crawford has already proven why he deserves recognition as the best active fighter today, with his record and dominance speaking louder than any speculation. What makes Cormier's praise notable is that it comes from outside boxing, showing that Crawford's influence extends beyond the ring. His greatness is respected across all combat sports.
Bet that Ilia Tapira could knock Terence Crawford out, no chance. If I had to bet Ilia Tapira versus Terence Crawford, I'm betting Terence Crawford. I mean, he's the best boxer in the world, and this is what he does, and he's done his entire life. But we also knew that about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. We knew, right, deep down, that Conor McGregor was not going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. But because of what we had seen him do inside of the octagon, what we had seen him do to all those great fighters in MMA, when he walked into that ring, people thought he had a chance. He didn't really have a chance. Conor never had a chance against Floyd Mayweather. And it would feel that way with Tapira, but you could at least sell that there's a chance because of how good he is in boxing and how he knocks people out inside the UFC. Initially, I thought Bud Crawford would just no-sell Ilia Tapira, right? When you're the king and everybody's calling your name, you can literally just ignore them and nobody will say anything about it. But Bud Crawford isn't one to ignore stuff.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more. See you next time.